Welcome, everyone, and thanks very much for either tuning into this podcast or for reading the transcript of this conversation between me, Hugo Cassidy from Pinsent Masons, and Luke McKinney from Nile. So in this discussion, we're going to refresh some of Luke's thoughts from an article first published in 2019 on the various approaches to innovation functions as updated for the current landscape. And I'm going to provide some insights gained from working in the legal industry. As a quick introduction to myself, I'm a partner at Pinsent Masons. I've been here for 5 years, and prior to that, was working as a banking lawyer with another law firm. I now specialize in tech-led, tech-enhanced delivery of legal services. So innovation functions and how they're structured is really critical to the success of that proposition within the firm. Luke.
Hi, everyone. I'm Luke McKinney, Director of Consulting at Nile. Nile is a strategic design consultancy specializing in highly regulated industries. We deliver transformation with technology by ensuring that it works for people and also creates value for businesses. So over the last 10 years, I've worked with lots of different organizations within regulated industries, looking at various ways that they've set up their innovation teams and functions, as well as working a lot within these models. During that time, we've started to see a number of models come out time and time again, which is a little bit going to be the focus of our discussion today.
Thanks, Luke. So I think we can all agree that technology has never been able to replicate some, but not all, human problem-solving activity. And more importantly, for current day and age, the speed and cost to design, calibrate, and set up a technology solution to deliver human-style problem-solving is getting cheaper, faster, and therefore more attractive. That said, from observing the legal industry, the pace of change and the pace of adoption is not consistent. And there are certainly some areas of the legal industry where it could be said that it's lagging behind the opportunities available in terms of doing things differently, taking innovative approaches. There's quite a few sort of well-known and well-discussed challenges when it comes to the legal industry and changing the way things are done. There are some sort of structural or inherent challenges, such as the concentration of knowledge and subject matter expertise in individuals rather than, say, at the institutional level. There's tendency perhaps for more risk-averse culture than you might find in other industries. There's the general business of project delivery and transaction delivery for clients, which can be intense and means trying to change things off the side of desk, for example, is difficult to do. There can be a lack of investment. Often innovation requires an investment of time and resources, which is material to really make a difference. And there are certainly areas where I can detect sort of senses of weariness. People are talking innovation and change in the legal sector for decades now. And some are going, well, listen, things haven't really changed that much since I started papering deals, giving legal advice 10, 20 years ago. So why am I going to engage now? So there's some of those challenges in the legal industry to adapting new ways of doing things. Would you actually change that?
Yeah, I was just going to say change fatigue is a very, very interesting one, because I think we've definitely worked in a couple of organizations over the years, particularly larger enterprise ones, where whilst despite having lots of innovation initiatives, not all of them kind of make it through into the day-to-day life. I suppose what's kind of interesting from our perspective at this juncture is, as everyone listening, reading will be aware, generative AI has become much more a focus within the tech industry. And what we are finding very interesting about that in the work that we're delivering is suddenly jobs, roles, tasks that couldn't be automated because it was either just too complicated or required a human in the loop to perform those tasks are now starting to become easier, not necessarily to automate in full, but definitely parts of those tasks and workflows can be addressed. So, both our professions, legal, consulting, accountancy, these are all things where we're starting to see greater opportunities with some of these new technologies. However, there is still a need to kind of understand how that technology works, its limitations, what it can do. And again, that kind of puts these kind of innovation models that we've talked about as far as setting up teams, which again were created back, originally wrote about back in 2019. While still true, they definitely work differently depending on the technologies that we're working with and the types of organizations that we're working in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that just comes down to that scope of opportunity, like greater than it's ever been before. I think, and this is going to be the focus of the next few articles in this series, is whilst technology is critical, and we will talk about that, and culture is obviously critical, and buy-in from leadership is critical. One of the things that makes a massive difference to the success of an innovation proposition is how it's positioned or structured within the organization. And from my side, I'm always thinking about and looking at how law firms are positioning their innovation functions, their innovation teams, their innovation experts within their business, because there are a number of models, and we're going to go through those, and what the impact has been on how they are executing their innovation strategy and what successes that they're seeing in that field. So looking forward to getting into each of those models, layering discussions about Gen AI over the top of that and seeing how it's changing the discussion. And I can tell you a bit about what also we're doing at Pinsent Masons and how we think that for us is a winning combination.
Yeah. Is it worth me giving just a quick overview of kind of three models? So, as I said, these are kind of formed out of multiple years working with different organizations that have either exactly this setup or characteristics of this setup, and sometimes there's a little bit of a blend in between. But typically, we see there are three traditional models when an organization is trying to embed technology, build something that has never been done before, and essentially innovate. So the first one of these is what we refer to as the Speedboat model. So this is where you have kind of a fully capable, self-governing micro-organization, kind of separate from the mothership, where all of the key innovation ideas, building of technology happens. This is probably the one that kind of an innovation professional's dream kind of revolves around. It's there's always a trendier office built somewhere else with nice sofas and beanbags, modeled on a Google campus somewhere, but it has certain benefits, and speed, as we put in the title, is definitely one of them. But there's also some kind of drawbacks when it comes to scaling across the wider organization. The second is what I have lovingly dubbed kind of siloed faithful. So where an organization has traditional organizational silos, but then just creates a new silo for innovation. So digital or innovation areas are just essentially centralized functions, separate from other core functions, and then occasionally interact on a project by project basis. The third one that's probably worth calling out is the embedded expert model. So this is where a slightly more ambitious model of embedding the right innovation digital capabilities within every single business area, aligned through a kind of clear strategy and governance. So the idea of having the expert on hand within a particular subject matter or field aligned to the organization as it currently exists. Slightly more expensive to do, though tends to have good results when done correctly. But yeah, we're going to dig into each of these in a little bit more detail, and I'm interested, Hugo, to hear your views around what you've seen in the legal industry.
Brilliant. Thanks, Luke.